it's just, and I don't want to say this because I I feel like there's just so many people out there who would like rush to their defense, but I think the two show creators like don't give a fuck anymore. Like
I'm not
I
sure
think
if it's whether I don't know if it's that they don't give a fuck. What I'm oh shit. What I'm thinking is that they don't have actual
the material,
written book material anymore, and they're not
right?
him. You know?
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they're not Martin who created the like interconnecting woven spider web of like mystery.
Yeah.
And since they don't have his sort of skill set
Like
to create underlying mystery, they're kind of just like shitting out drama for the sake of drama, right? They're not like being subtle about it. They're not creating dynamic moments that build upon themselves over the course of the season. They're just like, oh, Sansa's rude to John. Look, everybody, she's being rude to John. Like
yeah, pretty much.
it's not like, oh, everything's super subtle and she's taking all the lessons that she learned from getting basically raped by Joffrey. You know, like she you know, I feel like she's not like I feel like her character development has somehow been like in it somehow hasn't been developed correctly. Like we all know she was supposed to kind of learn her lessons from all of her bad experiences, but I'm not feeling that. Like I'm not feeling that she's this new leader of the North who's more qualified than John, which I feel like she should feel that way. I feel like she should be this like this extremely strong woman. Um, I feel like she should be this extremely strong woman who like learned all her lessons because she saw her dad die and she saw the king die and she, you know, had to live under this like
Monster.
this yeah, exactly, this monster child king. And you know, now she's in Winterfell again, just like, hey Bran, hey Arya, it's been a long time, everything's changed, oh my god.
Yeah, the
Like
whole thing's really everything at Winterfell is so weak.
Bran, how could they fuck Bran up that much? Like he's just kind of sitting there like, oh yeah, I don't want this dagger. This dagger is like just, you know, I don't think I can use
Yeah,
it because
they better
like,
do something like something when he does end up speaking. It better be like they really need to
right.
go back and address the fact that he is letting all this shit go on without saying anything, because it makes no sense.
Yes. Like that whole interaction he had with Mira Reed, the girl who took him across the wall, was absolutely terrible.
It,
Like,
that didn't bother
you
me that
changed.
much. I mean, well, I think
It bothered me because I like her. I like
yeah,
her
but
as a character, and it turned her into a bitch.
yeah,
Like,
like she's an idiot. Like she doesn't understand or something. She's been with him this whole time. She knows what's going on in his head, and
exactly.
And then she gets all bitchy about it. Like that doesn't make any sense
Right.
at all.
No, that and that comes from, I think, the lack of source material and like the lack of, and I mean, I've never created, you know, I'm never probably going to be able to create a show within the span of a year, you know, with this much material. But at the same time, it's kind of like they really missed her character, I think, and I feel like it was just a way for them to get rid of her without killing her, with
Yeah,
like to put her on the shelf, but like it was
just said
poorly
like,
done.
it's I got you here. It's time to go.
I'm
See you
going
later.
home.
Yeah.
And I feel like her reverting to basically, she was basically Sansa's character. Like she was just like, everyone sacrificed so much for you and you're not doing anything. Like like we just entered the world of like 14-year-old angst when I'm supposed to be in Game of Thrones. Like,
yeah.
like they're past that. Like we're all past that. The kids are they are not kids anymore. Like
Yeah,
Bran is
and
the Raven.
the Arya Sansa thing makes no sense. Like, oh,
Dude,
they were upset with each other as just little kids, just because they
right.
didn't get along.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, that just comes right back, and they're not like They didn't grow up
Right.
at all.
Right. Yeah, and like when they met, okay, you remember this is what they did right. Remember when John and Sansa met like last season? Like, did you feel emotion? Like, did you get shivers in your your spine a little bit? Because I did, like a little bit.
I
Like it was there.
Yeah, I was happy about it. I still don't think it was done well enough.
Right. But even that, like, which wasn't done well enough, but enough, like surpassed all the stupid introductions or the stupid welcomes or the stupid like what's the word I'm looking for, like rendezvous or
Reunion.
God, I can't think of yeah, reunions. Like exactly this, like the 2 or 3 reunions that have happened between the brothers and sisters this season, I have felt nothing, like not even a sliver of, oh my God, it's been so long, like, oh God, it's, like
Yeah.
like they didn't even play that up. They're just like, oh, that doesn't look like Dad.
I did like. It's not a reunion. It's kind of a reunion, but John and Drogon I think they did that well. That was like the main thing that I thought that they. Just the scene itself was good.
John and who?
Drogon, the dragon.
Yes, no, that was the best.
Yeah,
No,
that was
I
good.
agree. I totally 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. That was the only moment this whole season where I truly was like, I felt immersed. I guess that's the best way for me to describe it, because I had a lot of emotions in that scene, but I felt totally immersed.
Yeah, you're not thinking about like, why are they doing this? This is retarded. This doesn't make sense.
I was just,
You know,
I was
you're
in the
just there,
moment
yeah.
with him. Yeah, that's a freaking beautiful thing, right?
And
like
the CGI was perfect. Well, when he touches him, it's not quite perfect there, but the way the dragon looks, the way
Right.
he moves, the way he does like a slow blink, the way a cat does,
and even
to show that they're comfortable.
yeah, it was really well done. I forgot about that moment. I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot about that moment. But I remember thinking to myself, that whole it was like a 5 or 6 minute thing. I remember thinking to myself, like, this is good. Like this is what I want. Like this is kind of what I've been waiting for in a way. Like these moments here, because the whole time he's been on Dragonstone, I've been like cutting my own wrist, because like I understand that he can't have an immediate amazing relationship with Daenerys, but the whole way it's played out, like the whole way Tyrion acts, like
Where's
feels
that fucking hole? I don't know which hole is for this hole. Do you?
yeah, I'm lost too. But and it makes me sad, because you're the one who brought up like, oh well, Tyrion's not as good as you think he is, right? Like, I mean, I've thought that before, like briefly, but now it's like ever present in the forefront of my mind.
They're
like,
writing him so poorly now.
He's his writing, because the second season is my favorite season, and Tyrion's in almost every episode. And I felt like their writing was done so well because the source material in the second book is like written verbatim in the show. Like what he says in the show is what he says in the book, and like I feel like that's exactly why it's so strong. But like if you compare just the the conversations, or the type of conversations, or like the dynamic of the conversations between like the second season and what he's doing now with Ice and Fire, like with that ultimate, the climactic moment, like it's disgusting how shitty it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm trying to find a good word to describe it. It's horrible. Like oh, don't mind her, she's just mad right now. Like, oh, go stay in the quarters for a little bit. His
whole thing, the reason people like him is because of his intelligence. Like that's his character. His character is smart, witty, and he's not that anymore at all. Like he doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't understand.
He's too much like Peter Dinklage. He's too Peter Dinklage. Like if Peter Dinklage was in Game of Thrones, that's who Tyrion would be this season. Like he's not Tyrion. He's Peter Dinklage, and I guess. And the other thing too is they took a swipe at him at the like in the beginning. Like he's already been maimed, right? Like he became a slave. He got a scar on his face. Like he got spurned by his father and his sister. But like at the beginning of the season, all the women on like the council took a swipe at him, and they're like, "Oh, don't listen to the man." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, don't listen to the midget man who sacrificed more than anybody personally to be with Daenerys, and like to turn like it almost felt like a real life stunt where, like, you know, the man was kind of like hung out as like a like sacrifice or like a martyr, but like they didn't redeem him. You know, he's still been at odds with Daenerys this whole time.
Yeah, and I don't see them resolving that because I don't think they care.
It was just like a very bizarre fan service for the people who aren't fans. Like,
yeah, that's how I've been feeling. That's how I've been feeling so much lately. Is that everything they're doing is just fan service?
Like the Gendry thing. I mean, I'm glad he's back.
No, I don't give a fuck if he's back or not. I don't care. And it made no sense for him to just show up.
Right,
and then be like, oh, yep, I'm going with you, John. I don't fucking know who you are, but our father, I met your father. You met
I have a
father.
hammer.
Yeah.
My dad used a hammer. I have a hammer now. I will use the hammer.
Yeah, that's so weak. It's so weak.
It could have been so much more. It could have been so much more. It could have been like I mean, Tyrion could have saved him from a knife attack. Like, it, you know, like something like there could have been some situation like I don't know, like he could have been a prisoner of Cersei and they freed him and they had like this little mini operation, but instead it's just like,
no, you know,
here I am.
What really fucking pisses me off is the little like fan service nods to real life memes. Like that's immersion breaking bullshit that I don't want to see.
And they did that with Gendry.
Yeah,
they did that with Gendry, the rowing boat thing.
Yeah, the boat rowing thing. Like, fuck off. Like, I'm trying to be immersed in this world, not think about the shit I saw on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm trying to forgive you for fucking up the last 2 seasons, and like I don't know. I'm trying, like, it's gonna go down in history, I think, as one of the shows that was just so strong at the beginning and so weak at the end. Like, that's how it's gonna be remembered. It's not gonna be remembered as like this like
great,
world,
beautiful,
yeah. It's not gonna be remembered as that.
Fleshed out story. It's not gonna be like that, yeah.
Like all the other HBO shows, like Sopranos and Deadwood, or like, I don't know, all those other, or even Rome. Remember Rome? I don't know if you watched that. But
no, I actually remember the first time I heard about it was or I think somebody was watching it when I was at your house, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, so that was kind of, I think that's the best example. Like, it had a beginning and it had an end, but like the consistency of the story and the consistency of the characters and the actors and the settings all kind of stayed the same. And even though they didn't do everything that they wanted to do, like they wanted to do originally 6 seasons, but they had this weird contract disagreement with the studio in London. Don't ask me how I know all this shit. But like, they kept the quality of the content for as long as they had the content. And I feel like Game of Thrones is gonna be remembered as the show that the last couple seasons were duds. Like, and I know I feel like that because I know how fanboyish I was and still am about it. And if I am able to admit it, like if I'm seeing it so as basically a betrayal.
Yeah, that's how I feel, and I'm super fanboyish about the show, like crazy.
Yeah, we were like the last time we saw each other, like the last couple times we saw each other, like I would say after my marriage, we freaking gave each other coins and said like, all men must die. Like, that's pretty fanboyish. Yeah. Like, I've only done that with Gladiator.
I still find myself like Julie was the first to point it out right after the episode. She's like, this is dumb. Like the whole plan
You
to
said
go
that?
to go capture a white and take it to Cersei.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
pretty
and,
dumb.
and I found myself like trying to defend it and like no, like what else are they gonna do?
Yeah,
But it's a
right.
pretty fucking weak storyline.
It's a,
Like it's just
it's
such
a
a
like,
stupid decision that makes no sense. And these are the smartest characters, best rulers, leaders that are making this terrible decision.
right. That decision like that. So what they basically did was create like a story arc, right? But based it off of this idea that the I'm trying to think of words are escaping me because I'm kind of frustrated. But it makes me wonder if George R. R. Martin told these two guys, the two creators, this is going to be a story arc in my book. Like there's going to Jon Snow is going to go with the Hound and with these other sort of legendary characters and go capture a white. And I bet you
But
he told them
he didn't
that,
give them the
but the
details.
way, yes,
Yeah.
exactly, like the way it all plays out, I bet you $1 million it's gonna play out like a really interesting, like well conceived outline in the book, but like in the show, it's just like it feels like
I can't
like
believe that you don't watch the things the after the episode things where they talk
I
about
can't
stuff.
stand it.
You have to so that you can, because Dan and Dave like give you their thoughts about this stuff. And every time I mean, maybe you shouldn't watch it honestly, because every time I watch it, I just get pissed. I'm like, there's like you were saying, it's like they don't give a shit. Like they're so unenthusiastic. They're just like, oh yeah, well we thought it'd be pretty cool. You know, we thought it was a good idea because there's some kind of precedent for this, because they already tried to take a hand down and that didn't work. Like, oh, okay, so they already know that they tried this and it didn't work. So now just go face these fucking things in full force
Their
with just a
logic,
few men
exactly. Yeah.
to do something that you already tried and you know it didn't work. Like, well, I don't get it.
Well, okay, so I have watched a few of them, and because of what you said, like the way they kind of present the argument or the way they present themselves when they talk about it, they're just kind of like almost apathetic,
Yeah,
you know? They're
yeah,
just kind of like,
that's how they come
uh,
across.
yeah. Well, you know, we really needed to create this scene, and we were thinking like, yeah, blah, and you know, that's how they talk about with Sansa and Arya. Um, and they'd say things like, "Oh yeah, Arya's changed so much," and you know,
Yeah, everything I've heard them say after the episode, the last few episodes, has been like they just kind of shrug and they're like, we thought it sounded like a cool thing to do.
yeah, so we
Like
just,
no real explanation, just
right,
sounded good to us.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty frustrating, and it's been confirmed, I think, that they're like full blown working on their other show,
Yeah,
like
they
better
no,
or whatever,
I was
which
watching
sounds
something else
stupid.
that they were talking about, and this was like the thing that I was watching on YouTube was a few years ago, it was a couple seasons ago, and they were like, they were there with God, I can't remember his name, John and Sam.
Right, at a university.
Yeah, at Oxford, whatever.
Yeah. I
And-
watched that too.
And that's I heard them talking about that other show they're working on, and like, and they seemed more excited about that.
Right, yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's just like Donald Trump." Like, okay, no, that's like not. It's like he's his own special weirdo. Yeah, they seem to be like sucking on that big, like,
I don't know where we're supposed to go. Must have to go up the ramp. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's really disappointing. And what the hell is it like? So John knows that both of his sisters and his little brother are
at Winterfell.
at Winterfell, and he just passes right by it to go up to the wall.
Yeah.
Like I understand
Yeah.
it's a pressing issue, but I can't believe. And not only that, but the cut. the time that passed for him to go from Dragonstone to the wall. It was literally like they just cut to it, like that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like some super weird, sappy conversation with Tyrion, and then it was just like boom, they're there.
Yeah, it was weird, but him just passing by Winterfell like that.
It doesn't make sense, yeah. And if you look at the map, like if you go full nerd and you look at the map, like East watched by the seas, like yeah, on the east, but like he could have just went like west for like a day and then went back east. Like I don't know. Like,
yeah,
you could argue that the winter stopped him, but at the same time, like.
But none of that's being argued in the show. It's being rushed so
Right.
badly that
it's being rushed super. Yeah, that's like that should be like the word of the day or like the word of the year. Like
just rushed because it is
so.
Yeah.
And you know, I think my like immediate thought is that the reason why they can't rush it is because the storyline was so slow for so long, right? So like just to get Ned Stark beheaded, like in the timeline or like at the speed that the show's going right now, he would have been beheaded in the second episode. But in the first season, he was beheaded in the 10th episode, 9th of the 10th.
Because because it should be like that, because it takes time for us to care about things like that. Like we had to really understand who Ned was.
Yeah,
before giving a shit that he's got his head chopped off.
Right, exactly.
And to understand all of the events that led up to that. Like Jon Arryn and Cersei.
Right.
You had to understand everything that was going on to get to that.
Yeah, you had to
care about it.
You had to kind of hate Joffrey so that so it was like another nail in the coffin or another like emotional really disturbance when Joffrey was the one who killed him. Like you love Ned, but he was also killed by this like little fucking bitch kid, like, and it was like this icing on the cake for the bad guy, and it worked so well. It was all layered. Everything was so layered. Like every outcome and every decision and every destiny for the characters was everything that happened was so layered. You could see how it affected all the other characters, but in this season,
everything is
like,
face value.
Yeah, in this season, it's just like, oh, Daenerys, I don't like you. I don't like you either. Okay, I guess we'll go to episode 2.
Bend the knee, bend the knee, bend the knee.
Your ancestors bent the knee. And you remember that cave? Remember that cave they went into the last episode or before? Wasn't that like the worst environment created? Like the worst kind of fabricated set ever? Like I don't know. It was. I wasn't like, oh wow, Dragonstone, or like I wasn't like, oh wow, the Children of the Forest, or oh wow, look, it's like the White Walkers. It looked like a kid went in there with crayons.
Yeah, the whole reveal of it didn't feel good. That's for sure.
It was just kind of like...
I didn't notice too much that it looked particularly bad.
But it...
Oh, actually, I did notice one thing that looked stupid. All the symbols and stuff looked fine to me, but the... But the White Walkers, the carvings of the White Walkers looked really stupid. They were like really way too detailed, and the eyes were blue, like, and they're still blue, and nothing else is colored.
Yeah, like, it was like someone, like it was like a kid had like walked up to it.
It was from a B movie, or, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, like a Krampus movie or something.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was like. That's exactly what it was like. It looked like some indie kids like reveal at Pains or whatever.
Yeah, like a stupid, like one of those really bad H.P. Lovecraft movies.
Yes, exactly. That's what it looked like. It didn't look like the children of the forest
Yeah.
from Game of Thrones drew this 10,000 years ago.
God, I wish I wasn't fucking stuck on this thing. This is frustrating. Finally, I'm off of it. Oh, of course I bounced out. I finally made it through, but I bounced out.
Fuck, I did the same thing.
Oh, now I'm stuck on the fucking merry-go-round again.
And for some reason, like, I wish it wasn't so, but I get the vibe, and I don't know if it's because of the actresses or the actors, or they're just like, but I get the vibe that, like, we're in the real world a little too much. Like, I don't know. It just, I guess the word that I'm looking for is there's not enough immersion.
Yeah, it's not
like,
immersive.
I don't.
That's how I've been feeling.
don't-
I've felt the exact same way. I'm not thinking, like, I'm not feeling there. I'm thinking about the show.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, okay, this actress is probably from, you know, a very poor area of London, and they hired her because, like, for diversity or something. And I know that sounds incorrect, but it doesn't if I feel that way, like I feel like that is what's happening, and like I'm not against that, but it's Game of Thrones. Like I'm not supposed to feel like, you know, this isn't like some sort of new age hip girl show
On the
or
CW, yeah.
this isn't. This is death, dragons, and sex. I think I'm frozen. I
And
can't
it's
do.
a different world. It's a completely different world.
It's a world full of magic. It's a world full of betrayal. It's a world full of incest. It's a world full of like deferring religions and dark magic and like ancient enemies. And like I feel like everyone's about to just take off their costume and like go protest in downtown New York City or something. Like that's how I feel like they're all doing. Like
Yeah.
I feel like all the actresses and actors are like 2 steps away from just ripping off their clothes and like going to protest like world hunger or like oil companies or something. And like
Make the
that's
last
cool.
episode a musical.
Yeah. Or like you know, like I don't know, I just feel that way. I really do feel that way. And I feel in the one thing I think about is the book, because in the book I don't feel that way when I'm with Daenerys. Like I feel like it's more of like a Cleopatra feel. Like I feel like it's more of an Egyptian sort of liberating philosophical reality with her and her people. But when I'm with her in the show, I don't feel that at all. Like I don't feel like she's Cleopatra. I feel like she's the Terminator or something. Like I don't, or not the Terminator, but like I feel like she's trying to get another part in the Terminator 2 or something. Like I don't know. Like, I don't know what she's trying to do. But I don't think she's trying to be Daenerys.
Yeah, I can kind of get that. I haven't thought that on my own, but I see where you're coming from.
She's just so like, and this hurts me more than any of the other acts. Like I can shit on Sansa all day because I think she's a terrible actress. I can shit on Arya all day because I think she's a terrible actress. But like the very first season of Game of Thrones, like this actress sold me on Daenerys. I was like, yes, she's a mother of dragons. Yes, she's a mother of dragons.
Yeah,
Like, she's
and her
awesome.
whole, I mean, she did a good job of progressing the character too, like making that character grow up.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but you're not seeing, like, I don't know so much that it's her though as it is the writing, and it's hard to distinguish that sometimes.
It totally could be the writing, and I would blame it on the writers and the show producers and the show creators and everything, and that would make me feel a lot better and it would make sense. But it's almost like the same thing as Tyrion. I'm just not feeling anything at all. Like Jon is my favorite character.
Tyrion, I'm thinking, is totally the writing. He's not my favorite actor, but I think the writing is what's screwing that character.
Well, it's that's more that is probably 100% correct because like him more than Daenerys, I guess, doesn't have a lot of lines in the show. So in every line that does come up, every time I think about it, every time I know I take time to listen, and I know that every single time I've been absolutely disappointed at what he said. Like when he's trying to convince Jon to listen to Daenerys, he kind of just like comes up to him and is just like, yeah, man, you should just try it. Like he's trying to, it's almost like he's trying to get him to try weed or something. Like he's not like, I don't know, he's not like,
he's not being intelligent Tyrion the way that you think you should be or would be.
Right. He's not using history or using a story or like or compelling story or a compelling piece of history to convince Jon to think in a certain way, which is what I think George R. R. Martin would do. Like Tyrion in the book would say like, oh well, Aegon the Conqueror or whatever like did this, and then twist it in Tyrion's own dark humor to create kind of like
a compelling argument rather than just being like, hello, she's got dragons.
Yeah, dude, she's got dragons. Why don't you just bend the knee? Like, yeah.
Oh, well, fuck that. Did you see that?
Yeah. I'll be right back real quick. Where are we even going?
To the left of that little prism thing.
Shit. Yeah, how do you think, so I guess we can, how do you think this next episode is going to play out? Like, do you think they're actually going to bring back like a dead body and like suddenly Cersei's going to be
That's, well,
like,
well, it doesn't make any sense that Cersei would give much of a shit at all.
she has a zombie already. Like, the Mountain's already a zombie. She knows he's a zombie.
Yeah, so
like,
it's not like she doesn't know that this kind of thing can happen, and it's still not very convincing in terms of trying to convince her that there's a whole army of the dead. And she doesn't really care anyways. Also, I think she's lying about the pregnancy.
I think so too. I don't believe that shit.
She pulled the same stunt as Littlefinger did in that same episode, is what I'm thinking. Like, setting it up so that when Jaime... Because if she knew where Jaime was, talking to Tyrion...
Right.
She knew that he would be on his way back, because she knew exactly where he was at that moment. So she had the Maester in there, talking to her, to make it look real.
Right, yeah. Just to, like, secure Jaime.
Yeah, because
He's so
because him going to talk to Tyrion shows that he's not fully on her side, and she needs him.
Right. Yeah, she's basically screwed
she's
without
just manipulating
him.
Because that's what she does. Can't believe I just hit that shot. That was crazy.
I can't either. I'm not gonna use it.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Oh, sombrero. Yeah, I'm not like I'm kind of agreeing with both of you, thinking like this idea that they're gonna go beyond the wall and like suddenly team up with all these other sort of odd people, gonna result in glory. I don't know, like like they're just gonna like go up to the Night King and be like,
Yeah, like
try to take.
what's the actual plan? Like nobody has said what the plan is, and these people would not go without a plan.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're just gonna go grab one, I guess.
The king, the king of the North, the king of the wildlings, basically, the leaders of the rebels, the Hound, and like you know, the bastard son of Robert or whatever. Like they're willing to just kind of go out on this weird scouting mission without saying much of anything, just to be like, yeah, like this is the only thing we can do. What else are we gonna do? Maybe you can fight a war. Like there's a lot of other options actually. Like a lot of other options. Like you just like, and the thing that didn't make sense to me the most was that they just won a battle. Like they just kicked Jamie's ass, and they're coming up with a desperate solution. Right? Like they weren't doing good, and then they did good, and then when they did good was when they wanted to come up with a desperate solution. So like the pacing of the events totally doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, so you just whooped Cersei's ass, but you're scared to kind of like finish her because the White Walkers are coming, but you're gonna waste the time of sending the King of the North up there on a scouting mission for like a body. Then you gotta bring the body back. So all that time you could have like just destroyed Cersei anyway. Like super leap in logic.
Oh.
Then even like every single thing that they try to play up, like this idea that Daenerys is becoming like her father by burning
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Tarly, like it's not fun, like it's not good. It's like it's just a rehash. Like, yeah, she's turning into her father. Like, oh, she could have, like, there could have been anything. Like, she could have done something that just broke the chain of events that astonished us. Like, she could have had her dragon just burn one of them, and she should have said like, "No, you're not gonna die," or something like, you know, I don't know, like anything could have happened just to break the chain of like obvious storyline events. But none of that has happened. Like another example is like Sam. So like with Sam, the whole time the Maesters have been dicks to him, but they've been playing that up the whole time. Like the Maesters are dicks to him. The Maesters are dicks to him. The Maesters are dicks to him. But like they never, like nothing ever changed.
From a couple episodes ago, how they spent like 5 straight whole minutes on that little montage of him emptying bed
Yes.
and stuff. Why
Nothing
did they
came
spend
of
so
it.
long? Yeah, it's like
Nothing came of it.
it's just more of what you're saying. It's Maesters are dicks to him. Maesters are dicks. Like,
Usually when someone does that, like I feel like when a storyteller does that, they do that specifically to shock the viewer when something else happens. Like when a Maester's not a dick to him, right?
yeah, I think I see what they were doing. I just don't like the way they did it, because I think what they were trying to do is just make it believable that Sam would leave the Citadel.
Yeah.
Like,
Which...
But that's not even his reason for leaving. His reason for leaving is because he's not getting anywhere. It's not because he's like, oh, he has to empty bedpans.
And winter's here, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And there's so much about Sam stuff that I don't get, because I don't like how he ran away from his father again, and then he ran away from the Citadel again. I don't think that's how it's going to play out in the book. Like, so technically Sam hasn't grown up either. Like, keeps on running away from stuff. Like, and I know in the book, like, he grows up a little bit. Like, he walks up to Jon and he tells Jon, like, I have to be a maester. It's not Jon that sends him off. Like,
yeah,
it's him. Like, he's like,
he's starting to make his own decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the one who kind of initiates the sex with Gilly in the book, like a little bit, and like in the show he's still kind of like he's more relaxed with Gilly, but with everything else he's still super timid and like I don't know, like even when he was doing like the Jorah's, like when he was doing surgery on Jorah, he was super timid about it, which I can understand, but like it would have been a little bit more relieving if he was just like, you know, shut up, like you're either gonna die
or
like,
I do this and I'm gonna do this.
Or exactly. He could have totally done that.
Yeah, and it would have shown that he built some character over all these seasons.
But instead, he was like, oh, well, you know, this is the character Sam. Like, he didn't, and I feel like he wasn't given the guidance. You know, he's not given the guidance by the producers or the show creators or the director. They're just like, oh, yeah, you know Sam, right? Just be Sam for this scene. But, you know, he knows Sam as Sam in season 1, but, like, it's not Sam in season 1 anymore.
No, he's supposed to grow up. That's, like, they're not developing anymore.
It's just like, oh, you guys know what you're doing, right? So we're back here in Ireland, so let's just shoot. You guys have a good break? Yeah, we had a good break. Okay, yeah. So sign your contracts and let's just shoot this shit. Which I think is like a really big fundamental flaw in using characters over this long of time without it being a sitcom. I feel like actors just get so fucking jaded with their characters. Like a good example would be Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter series when they grew up when they're young, like just for the sake of them keeping the integrity of this, like the image, like they kept the same actress as an actor, but like two of the actors and one of the actresses like grew up, but like one of the actors, a bunch of the other actors were like super fucking terrible, and like they should have replaced him, but they didn't replace them because of like
Weasley
everyone's
brothers.
feelings. Yeah, they were all the Weasleys were good in the first couple movies, and then the rest of the movies, like Ron Weasley was a terrible actor. That's why he's not in any movies anywhere like beyond fucking like. But Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, like they're good. I mean, for the roles that they can play, they're decent.
I can't do this whole.
I don't even know if I finished it. But I feel the same way for this. Like I feel like they should have fired like a few different actors, actresses, or writers or something, and just kind of like put a fire under some people's ass, or just replace the showrunners. Like why not? Like why? What? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of just jumping to this conclusion, but I feel like it's a lack of it's a lack of source material is the main problem.
No,
I think.
no, that like if someone were to hold like a gun to my head and they said like,
What's the
give me
problem
your
with
honest
the show?
answer, yeah, I would say exactly that too. Like I agree 100% with that suggestion. And it just makes sense on so many different levels. And it makes me want to just like shove a pipe up George R. R. Martin's ass. Like not only are you
Not writing the book.
not
at all,
writing the book, but because you're not writing the book, like
fucked
you
the show.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fucked the show. Yeah,
So frustrating.
let him out to dry. Like that's your legacy. Good job, fucker. Like, you just... He's always grinning too. Like I don't watch him anymore. I don't watch any more interviews with him or anything. But like every interview I've ever seen him, or like any like event where I've seen him at or something, like he's just always grinning. Like
Because he's rich as hell now.
yeah, rich as hell, but like absolutely his like whole collection life material is almost a joke or a meme. It's not what Lord of the Rings was. Like Lord of the Rings was completed, and Lord of the Rings was like.
Yeah, and this could be. I mean, this is a
It could
real
be.
like societal phenomenon, and
Right.
and he's fucking it.
Yeah, it's probably the closest societal phenomenon to Lord of the Rings that we've ever had in the English language, or in the world, because there's no other language that does this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually something I've come to realize just by coming here to Quebec, because like people read what the English people write, because other authors in other languages are not writing high fantastical stories or deep political like analysis of like historical figures. Like, it is English writers and authors, it's English literature. Like, English literature is like the divine like item of the world, as far as like writing is concerned, other than like Hebrew text and the Bible. Like, English literature is everything as far as our current millennia. And so like for him to achieve something so amazing, like you said, a societal phenomenon, and then to blow it, like he's not just blowing it in the sense of the English language, but like he's kind of like farting on the world.
Yeah, pretty much. Shit, I think this is gonna be hard. For you, apparently. There I go.
Oh. Oh. All the walls are kind of.
But yeah, I don't know how it's gonna play out north of the wall. What do you think?
Alright, I got up for a second.
So how do you think it's gonna play out north of the wall?
Well, so can I say some stuff that happened in the book? I guess it's in the third book. So
Yeah,
I guess
I watched tons of videos and stuff where they talk about books.
So I think
I
Thoros
like
is
to
gonna.
know what I don't know.
I think Thoros is definitely like 100% gonna die, because he's dead in the books. But he, like, in the book, I can just say this because I don't think she's coming back. But in the book, Catelyn Stark is raised from the dead.
Yeah, Lady Stoneheart.
And it's through the death of Thoros, he kind of like transfers his light, or like his
last life, essentially. His
right, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So I think he's dead. Like, I think he's gonna sacrifice himself for the group in some way. And I think that Thoros.
You think?
I'm sorry. It's not Thoros. It's not Thoros. Thoros is the monk. It's the other guy. What's his name? Oh my goodness.
Beric Dondarrion.
Beric Dondarrion. Yeah, he's the one who's dead. He's the one who gives his last life. It's not Thor. Thoros is the priest, so the drunk priest. But it's Beric. I'm pretty sure Beric Dondarrion is gonna die.
I'm thinking maybe he'll be the white that they bring back.
Huh. Well, that's a good. That's a really good guess.
Like maybe he'll sacrifice himself or something.
Yeah, that is something I kind of like. That flew through my head, I think, for like half a second, but I didn't really grasp it, was maybe one of them will kind of die and come back, and they'll be able to. One of the people of the group would make sense totally, instead of just somehow lassoing a white or whatever. I don't even know what the hell they think they're gonna do. And the other thing too that bothers me is the whites are alive through the power of the White Walkers, and if they're all the way in King's Landing, like, how does the power of the White Walkers reach all that way? That's something that really bothered me, because I was thinking about that, and I was like, that would be like my main instant question that they never questioned. They were just like, no, it's gonna work, because like John used the example that they had a white at the wall, but like the wall's the wall, man. Like the wall is infused with magic. And like it's pretty close. Yeah, it's like it's north. Like it is north. It is not in the Mediterranean southern region of the Westeros kingdom. Did you just?
Yep. I am pretty damn curious as to how that whole thing's gonna go, though, with them being surrounded and so, like how they're gonna get out of that.
Yeah, well, and here's that's a really good suggestion too. But here's the thing that bothered me as well. Like I kind of don't. I've seen too much of it. Like, why have they shown so much of that?
Me and Julia have said the same thing about the last 2 or 3 next episode previews. That they're showing way too much.
Way too much. Like, we know that the Night King's there. We know that Jon's running away. We know that Beric Dondarrion's gonna like light his blade up with fire. We know that, like, you know, Sandor Clegane's gonna be up there like waving his axe and stuff. Like, that's all cool, but like I saw everything, and I think that's ruining it for me slowly. Like these little things that I see. Like, what's one example? Like that whole battle scene with Jaime, like how he tried to spear Daenerys. We saw a ton of that already.
Yeah.
Like, we saw a ton of that, and like I really didn't feel like I got my battle, like my desire, like my appetite for battle was not sated, because I felt like I had seen this.
Yeah, you already knew what was going on. I don't know where I'm going in this hole.
I don't know how I found it, but it's a bucket at the bottom. You have to kind of, yeah, you have to do that, but you have to. It's really hard. I don't know how I did it. It was kind of lucky.
What? Is it this?
No, you have to go.
Well, I can shoot from here, though.
You see that ramp? There's like a little snow ramp next to the wooden post that goes down and around where the arrow's pointing.
I don't see anything. Seriously? I don't see anything.
I wish I could ping, because it's really confusing. This is one of the most confusing. I wish I could ping. I can't ping. Oh, well, that's the direction, but and I think you can't do it anyway, because the pot's like all messed up, like the pot.
Okay. What the hell?
You know what I think? You know what I did think? So this is interesting. What I did think the moment I saw the preview or just the moment I thought of John going across the wall, I thought dragon, like I thought ice dragon. I think that they're gonna wander onto like some kind of sacred site or sacred ceremony and uncover a secret, which like who the White Walkers are. I mean, we know who they are, but why are they wearing the black armor of the Night's Watch? Like, obviously the Night's Watch, but like, is there something there? Like, did a former commander of the Night's Watch like sacrifice his own son for a dragon or something? Like, I don't know. Like, there has to be something extra. Like maybe like Melisandre will show up and like turn into her old woman self and cast a spell on somebody. Like, I want something to happen like that. You know, I want something to just like blow my fucking mind. But I'm not confident that anything will. I don't know. Because
I'm not very confident either.
Even if Bran did save them, like take two, you could probably take 2 or 3 guesses on how Bran would save them, and you would most likely get it right, which is bad storytelling, I think. Yeah. Like if you're able to guess it, which I could, like if someone were to ask me how Daenerys was going to respond to Jon and like the way that whole thing played out, I probably could have, like in the first 2 to 3 guesses, kind of guessed this, like how it's gone. Like they slowly have kind of bonded over the fact that Jon shows like a kinship to dragons. He's a Targaryen, and like that, like she was gonna almost sort of slowly find out that he was a Targaryen, but
yeah, I'm actually a little upset about the fact that everything is moving so fast, but then there are certain things that are like, how long is this actually going to take?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
how
if
long?
Everything else is moving this fast, then why has this not happened yet? Like that. Like Daenerys finding that out, or fucking Bran sitting at the fucking weirwood tree forever, not saying anything.
If you were to ask me 3 years ago, what would happen to Bran in the year 2017 by the last episode or the last 2 episodes, I would have said that he raised all the trees from the ground and like conquered half the 7 kingdoms and like revealed a bunch of mysteries about everybody, and like, you know, like instead of like working in a hold order, he like took over the mind of like a really you know, like I would have had so many amazing sort of imagination. My imagination would have run wild with what Bran could be, but he hasn't done shit. He's only figured out that Jon was a Targaryen, but it's episode 6 now, and like you said, he's sitting at the weirwood tree with the dagger, just like fucking around with the dagger. Ugh. And also, like you said, everything else is going so fast, and then we have one thing.
Yeah. It's really frustrating.
Which it's basically the redemption of Ned Stark, almost like.
Fuck this hole. I don't like this. Really?
Another thing I was talking to Stephanie about, which I think I was talking to you about it before, but like, so they've built like HBO has built this massive gathering of Game of Thrones fans, right? People who are interested in this alternative medieval sort of heroic legendary tale. What have they done to appease those, like that subgroup of people who want gritty reality?
What I think they've done is
they have Ballers. Like the show that follows Game of Thrones is Ballers. Are you kidding?
I forgot how to. Is it M? N?
Tab?
No.
Caps on.
Oh, there's a way to go back. It's like to Mulligan, but I don't remember the key. Hit everything.
Oh, I forgot to.
F. There we go. Okay, no. I ran out of time. That's just rude. There's slopes at the edge of the ramp.
Oh, there's a windmill up there that'll block you.
I'm stuck here.
I'm going to Gatto on the lane. Really don't know what I'm doing. Oh, this could be the most difficult one. But I almost got it. You have to hit the windmill as you're going up to like ricochet you. Oh. Ooh, I'm up. Have you watched any of those older movies on Netflix? 40s or 50s movies?
No.
Like the only one I can think of right now because I just watched it is the Cleopatra movie with Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah. It's heard the story of Cleopatra a million times, but and it's a 4-hour movie, so I had to watch it over a couple days, like while I was using my bike. That's actually a pretty decent movie. Like the writing, like I watched it the day after I watched Game of Thrones, and this movie was made in like 1952 or something, and the writing of just Cleopatra and Julius Caesar is so much better in 1952 than it is in 2017 between like Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen. Like Cleopatra and Julius Caesar are just talking about ancient Roman things, but the way they talk about absolutely everything, whether it's love or war or like death or suicide or whatever, like everything is poetic and like a little more and like alternative or like a alternative version of what a real person would say. So like if a real person would say I love you, or like I love you because of your personality, like, you know, Cleopatra would not say that. She would say like I love you because you choose to be the man you are, or something. You know, like they would just the sentence structure was so changed and different and better, and that you could tell they were making like a terrific effort to do that with everything, and it just showed me. I was like, wow, you know, like this is effort I feel like the people who are making Game of Thrones right now are just kind of like
they've gotten lazy.
whacking off.
Yeah, they've gotten lazy.
Like when they approach a situation with the characters, they're like, okay, well, what would the character say? And the character would say like, oh, hey, how are you doing, Daenerys? But they wouldn't change that to make it a more unique or compelling flow. They would just say, okay, well, that's what the character says, like, because that's what we would say, because you play John, right? Ha ha ha. Like, you know what John would say. And then Kit Harington's like, yeah, I know what John would say, but Kit Harington's not a fucking writer. Like, he doesn't know.
I don't know what the fuck is going on right here. Oh, there's a little... I see.
Yeah, if you get in there, then it will. Recorded most of that. I'm gonna check it to see if this sounds okay. Are you in?
Yep.
Fuck.
Did the same thing.
There's an arrow.
It took me way longer than it should have. No, you went the right way. You just went way too far.
What? There's something here. You see that?
Oh yeah, there's like a portal down there.
I gotta get it. Fuck.
Or be a cheap rogue.
Oh. What? You see this?
Put you right in the hole. Yep.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Person called me a filthy casual.
What happened? Oh,
I didn't
hit it
hard enough, and it says filthy casual.
Oh my god. Long jump through portal. Oh. I hate it whenever it says like hit hard and I hit too hard. It's like...
I'm gonna catch you. I don't think it's possible.
No, we're pretty close. Where the hell are we going? I think I did good. Are you in it? Are you serious? Where the hell are? What the? Do you see where I am at? I don't even
we
know.
went to completely different places.
I think I'm over there. Okay. God damn. Oh. Barely. Barely.
I got a new hat.
Oops. And they exited the hole. What games do you have downloaded on Steam right now?
Pretty much just what we played. Skyrim, Witcher,
Golf.
It.
I wish WoW was free. I feel like it would be fun just to go in there and like goof off, but definitely not worth it right now.
Customize my ball real quick.
Is Castlevania still fresh in your mind? Because maybe I can record this next thing and talk about that or something.
Yeah, I think I remember it pretty well.
Have you played any of the Castlevania games, like the recent ones where I think there's stories in 3D? Like, I think that they've made these sort of God of War Castlevania type games, like where it's kind of like a 3D sort of open world Zelda type feel. Like I'm not sure if that's how it is. I haven't played any of them, but I think that the show is based off of mainly the stories going with that. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I've never played any of those games, actually. I think we might have had, like, we might have owned one of them, but never played any.
Like one of the... I kind of want to... Every time anyone ever asks me... Anytime every... He just keeps... Keeps crashing.
The game's crashing?
I think it's because I had a couple things open and like it would click and not register the right window or something. Still doing it. Well, it's not crashing, it's minimizing. But every time anyone's ever mentioned Castlevania, I've always felt like I've had to kind of act like I know about it somewhat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a good game.
So it was apparently really popular. Nobody I knew played it though.
Yeah, none of my friends like no, like from the beginning of like even before I met you, like I never met anyone that was like, yeah man, I played Castlevania 1. Nothing. Like everyone was always into trying to think of like the 2D game that even I was interested in. I don't know. Not Castlevania. I guess Ghouls and Goblins was some of my friends were into when I was in Alaska.
I don't even know what that is.
The one where you start off as like a knight, and then every time you get hit, you're naked, and then you have to like get armor, like find armor, and then every time it's just like Castlevania where it's like vampires and bats and undead and stuff, like Frankenstein monsters, but you don't have a whip, you just have like, I think it was Super Nintendo with
Seventh Saga?
I don't know.
Did you ever play that?
Was that a 2D? A 2D
Yeah, it was
side scroller?
It was like a top-down RPG.
Seventh Saga?
Yeah.
Is it Japanese?
Yeah, I think so, but it wasn't super like, I don't know, it didn't feel like, from what I remember,
Wasn't like
a long time ago, it didn't feel like Chrono Trigger.
Right, yeah. It wasn't like Secret of Mana or Chrono Trigger. Or...
You know, maybe it is kind of like Secret of Mana. It's been a long time since I've even talked
Did you
about
play
it, heard about it.
Oh. Those were the games when I was growing up, like those top-down RPGs. Those were the games where I never got to touch, so like I respected them in that sort of a religious way. Like I was always like, oh, I want to play Chrono Trigger and Secret of Mana, but I never was able to because either my parents didn't buy it for me or my friends didn't have it or whatever. Like I never was able to sit down and just spend like 12 hours on Chrono Trigger, which I knew that I would if I had it. So like I kind of revered the game in a weird way. Like whenever I would see the box art of the Secret of Mana or Chrono Trigger at the store, like my little 8-year-old brain would kind of like
I get
pray
that.
to it.
I didn't play many of those types of games at all back then because most of my time was spent on a computer.
Yeah. Well, when did you get your first computer? How old were you?
First one of my own was not until like a long time. Like, what was my first personal computer? We always had like ones that we all shared, but we ended up having multiple that we shared together.
Okay.
But I think my first personal one just for myself was when I went to college.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
We always just shared them. Yeah, I can't think of anything that was just mine until college.
Well, when there was a moment I remember when you were at Brookside.
No shit. No, I did have one.
You had that one. I think that was
I had
maybe.
actually, I had two. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what I was thinking. I had two.
I remember watching you organize your like music library on that computer.
Yeah, I had two. I don't know why I just completely blinked out on that. It's weird. Fuck, I went the wrong way. I find my subconscious blocking out a lot of random shit like that.
Teenage stuff.
Just how much I hated life at that point.
I can absolutely understand. Sometimes this is the worst part about it. I feel like sometimes during the day, like I'll be walking around and having a totally normal day, like routine Brandon, and then all of a sudden I'll think like, wow, this really shitty thing happened, and it will ruin my day for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Fuck, like why didn't I even think about that? Like it's not even. What's an example? I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know, like just some stupid thing, like some stupid comment, or like
just something someone said or something you said that you regretted saying.
And then you're like, oh. Like one thing that really sort of annoys me is that I called my dad the other day. I knew that like the moment I reestablished contact with them, it would be like some sort of super terrible like chain of like stupid memories that's just gonna bother me for a few weeks. That's pretty much what happened. I just said, oh my god. But I thought my sister messaged me and told me he was like bleeding out his vomiting blood and all this shit. Said that like he had a tumor or something, and I was like, oh, what? So I had to call the hospital and figure it all out. And he doesn't have a tumor. Wasn't really like, I mean, he was sick, but he wasn't like on his deathbed, which is what I thought he was. I thought he had cancer. He actually still maybe could have cancer, but they didn't find it. They didn't like say he had a stomach ulcer.
So they're not even sure?
No, they're he doesn't have insurance. He quit like, just like per textbook like retard, which he is. He quit his job like 3 months before this happened, and then like tried out another job for like 2 weeks, and then came back to his job, which at the original job he had really good insurance, and he fucking had cancer and surgery like a few years ago for his prostate, which like he should have never left a job where he had good health insurance. Stupid, especially without having a wife. And then so he leaves that job, and he's officially at the original job again with the good insurance, but there's a 90-day waiting period for the health insurance
Like for it
to kick in.
Yeah.
Right. So like he essentially got a stomach ulcer and a 3-day trip in the ICU for costs massive amount of money without insurance. So they kind of kicked him out. Like, I don't want to, like, they didn't have a reason to keep him there. But like, let's say if it was a person with insurance, they probably would have kept him there a little longer and done
Yeah,
more tests in his
just to
stomach.
see. Yeah.
But instead, they're like, oh, okay, well, your stomach stopped bleeding, so yeah, bye. Like, they don't want to go out of their way to go digging around and consulting oncologists and stuff because just to find out if it is, because he's not going to pay them. So.
Yeah.
Kind of a.
This map is broken, by the way. But
Kind of a. No, it's fine. It's just kind of a annoying situation because it's just. Like, of course you fucking like. Trying to switch my resolution. You know, then I have these family members, right, who I don't really talk to, and I call them because I want to like get more information about him, right? What's going on with him? I know I don't talk to him that much, but I want to help in any way I can. I'm dealing. And the first thing they want to do is try to convert me to Christianity, like immediately.
of course.
Like they're not like it's outrageous. Like they instantaneously were like, you know, Jesus loves you, Brandon. And I was like, oh my God, I want to know if my dad is dying of cancer, and like you're trying to bully me into like a prayer or something, like instantly, like not like. And of course, I didn't like go out of my way to say fuck you or anything. I just kind of like, thank you very much for praying for me. Yes, let's talk about my dad now. I kind of had to be rude.
It's weird because you know as well, better than I do, that's like, they think that it has to be the first thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Like
think if
it
it's not,
supersedes.
it supersedes everything, and that's the ideology they hold.
Right.
On purpose.
And I guess. Yeah, that is exactly what it is. That is their, like, just daily mantra.
Yeah.
Idea. Like, if I get an opportunity to talk to Brandon,
How else
I'm
are
gonna
you-
tell him.
How else are you gonna believe that stuff if you don't tell yourself all day, every day that it's true?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. Fucking screaming in their cars. And they make it into sort of like a self-sacrificial like identity, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm praying to Jesus all the time, and I'm always thinking about him, and I'm always doing good things, and I'm always like waiting for that opportunity, and I'm gonna use that opportunity in his name. And you know, like, it's all self-gratifying, but in the cloak of like martyrdom. I told him that Jesus was thinking about him, and that everything was gonna, like, I wish I recorded whatever people said to me in the span of 5 minutes. God's gonna take care of everything. Just does he have cancer? God's gonna take care of everything. Oh, and the one question I kept on asking, which everyone seemed to be like a little astonished about, but it was the one question that kind of got through to their real brain, and that was the question of, is there anybody with him? Is he alone?
What was the answer? Was anybody there?
And no, and they all said no, like with a little bit of like emotion in their voice.
Like they actually thought,
Oh no,
oh shit, like somebody needs to be there.
yeah, because if he does have cancer, if he does have, if he is fighting his insurance bullshit or whatever, like could anyone be there? Like, I don't know. I'm not, and I don't know the other people's situations either. And from what I learned over just a couple phone conversations, everyone's sort of doing for themselves. So maybe they can't go. But I think one of them, or maybe multiple, eventually did go visit him, and I did call him and talk to him, and he's out of the hospital now. But it was just kind of strange how like one little reasonable question kind of like brought them back to Earth, back to kind of like a weird reality, which is reality.
But it's weird to them.
Yeah, they're like, ooh. And they don't like being in that reality either. Like they don't like being in the world where they're like Indonesia exists.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like to them, like Indonesia does not exist. Or even just like Eastern Europe. Like everything like east of Berlin is just doesn't exist. And it doesn't need to exist.
Why would it?
Like
It
it
has
is
no
not
effect
our
on them.
problem. Oh, I wish you were there because I met a Polish woman who was born before 1989 when the wall came down, and she grew up as a teenager when the wall was up, and she spoke perfect English, and she just had this great conversation with me about like growing up in Poland and when the USSR or the Soviet Union basically disbanded, or the regime turned into Vladimir Putin, but they kind of like made all. Anyway, she explained to me like what happened in Poland, like what happened, like how it all like the Russian controlled government just disappeared and then was sort of like part of like this restructuring of their own parliament, and like they had these weird rules where like if you weren't a part of a communist party then you can only have like 35% of the parliament. But she said it was really interesting to be there and see it all because it all fell so fast. They started out with the rule that like only 35% of the government could be capitalists or capitalist leaning part of a capitalist leaning party, or even like a American leading party, I guess. And then like the next year it was like 55%, and the next year it was like 65%. And then she said by the time a few years went by when the whole entire thing fell apart, like basically the US came in and like their economy like went fucking boom, like when they opened up doors to like West Germany and everything. Not even their economy, but just like their health, because they were all scared of dying and like martial law and whatever. Just, it was really interesting to hear that because I really haven't read that much about
Yeah, I know almost nothing about it.
Cold War or whatever.
Pretty much nothing.
But I do know that Poland and Germany were pretty much the center points of most of the like tension.
Oh wow, you just got fucked.
I'm not doing too good.
I don't think I like this map very much.
Yeah. Huh. There's freaking rainbows. Like. If you ever go teach English in Korea, war breaks out, you're gonna be fucked. I was gonna say like I would come over there and help you, like that, but but then I was like, nah, I don't know.
No, they do have some nuclear capabilities, so it's probably best if you don't.
I was just thinking about it today because there was that interview with Stephen Bannon, who just got fired by Trump, and he like spoke with this liberal magazine, and he basically said like all the stuff that Trump's been talking about Korea is like, you know, it's kind of like a show because no one's going to go to war if Seoul is basically the target, like, because that is the target, right? Like they're not going to bomb Los Angeles, and they're going to bomb Hawaii or Guam either. If a real war came to pass, like all those Koreans who we love would just instantly be the target, just for the sake of sake of kill, yeah, sake of murder, like just go after them.
I've actually watched a few videos recently of just interviewing people on the street in South Korea, asking, what do you think of this whole thing with North Korea and everything right now? And they basically all said there's like between a 0 and 2% chance that we go to war. The only reason there's even a 2% chance is because of Trump now, and he's impulsive. Because
they all think that in South Korea.
Yeah, because all of them basically shrugged and said, like, we've been growing up with North Korea doing this exact same thing forever.
Right. With the previous dad, previous.
Yeah. But they do it every time, and what I thought was interesting that I'd never thought of before is apparently it's just known in South Korea that North Korea does this, especially during South Korean election times.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah, I haven't heard that before, or at least I didn't think about that. Didn't even come close.
Time's gonna run out because I have to fall so far to the ground.
Sit up again. Say it again.
The time's gonna run out because I have to fall so far to the ground.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, this whole, all the angles and stuff from this map set seem to be like, what other things do those South Koreans say? They, like, are they just constantly annoyed with American politics?
It didn't seem like it. And they actually, this channel on YouTube that I was watching, they have a bunch of videos where they ask just like, what do you think of America? It's just really interesting little stuff like, do you know any American slang and stuff like that. It's just, I find it interesting to see like what they actually, like what just random people on the street think instead of.
Yeah, it's a super fun experience. I mean, Korea's night and day from just best because, you know, we're so close, but just the fact that everyone's French here, like there's a little, like I always get, like just being here, I always get little tidbits of how people view little things, and it's always fun.
find South Korea especially interesting because they're so heavily influenced by us, but they're still so heavily Asian. You know, they have such a long history and culture of their own, but then they've integrated American culture into their culture so heavily that it's really weird.
Right. And they've been around, like, they've kept their own identity in a way. Like, they outlasted the Japanese and the Chinese trying to destroy them for probably thousands of years. Still Korean. Like, they still have their Korean palaces. And I'm not sure exactly how in-depth their customs are, but how old they are. But from what I know, they've been around for a while. Like, there's been a Korea for a while. I don't know if it was ever a part of the Mongolian Empire or not.
I don't know either, actually. I don't know much about like the long history of the peninsula.
I know the one thing that I do know, after know a little bit about Mongolians with Marco Polo bullshit, but like I do know that, like, as far as Japan and China and in Korea and some of the in India, like, they've all kind of had their own really interesting histories, just like France and England have had theirs. Like, France and England have basically been fighting and marrying off princesses and princes for thousands of years, alongside Germany and Spain. And it's kind of like the same thing over there. Like, they've kind of had their religions and princes and princesses and exiles. Like, people think that the Eskimos in Alaska are like exiles of some Asian empires and stuff, which makes sense.
Could be, yeah. I always think archaeologists are usually like professional guessers.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, even with like stuff like I just learned about, like, the Rosetta Stone or whatever, like, even after uncovering like hieroglyphics and like Egyptian stuff, like,
There's still
like how much
guessing.
how much are you really getting? Like, just think about what people write today and like how shitty our writing is sometimes. Like, 2,000 years ago, did they really like leave a storied history? Did they have like a in-depth analysis of their daily life? Like, no, they didn't.
Not only that, but they would have been, their culture would be so different from ours that we don't know what they're right. Like, they still joked, you know. We have certain cultures today have heavy sarcasm and some have none, and you know.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't know what we're reading, if we can even read anything.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge part of it. It's something. And even Canadians and Americans, like, their humor, night and day almost sometimes. Like, just the way they find things funny, or at least like an American from the South or an American from the East, or like New York American, they are totally different. Social breakdown, and that's just in a few generations, a few hundred years here. But some of these empires, like Greece and Rome and Egypt and India, like the ancient Indian empires, like, they were around for 700 years, 600 years. Like, damn, they must have had like differing layers of social structure and customs that
we'll never understand.
Right. Exactly.
And
yeah.
the way that those things influence the the stuff that we do think we understand makes me doubt basically everything we think we know about him.
Right, yeah. It's pretty funny when you think about it, actually.
Keep trying to go this short route, and it's not working out for me. That first try.
I was totally thinking about Cleopatra, and I just like swung.
So what we're on? The last episode was episode 5, so we're on 6 now.
And it's tomorrow. No, it's not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm
yeah,
still excited.
Yeah, I still get excited. And if they could do a good job, it could be good. I don't know. There've been a couple good episodes, I thought.
You remember the episode where? You remember the episode when we first saw the Night King, like? Not when we first saw him, but when we first saw him like fight at
Hardhome.
Yes. Hardhome has never been redone. Like, that episode is a movie on its own.
Yeah.
I feel like it hasn't been. The Battle of the Bastards was not bad at all, but Hardhome was better. Like, I'm not sure if it's just because it was. But I don't think so. I think that it was just there's more to it. Like, there was more the way that they just even created characters and made us identify with the characters that died instantly in the same episode. Was so good. Like, I keep thinking about that one wildling girl who was like a mother and she was killed by the kids.
Yeah.
That was so good.
And when she raises up at the end.
Yeah, and then she gets up at the end, like, and that's just like one part. But even John's fight with the White Walker, like how the White Walker like throws him out of the building, basically like manhandles him, and then the White Walker like just kills that one really tough thing or whatever. What is it? I don't know. Barbarian guy. Like the White Walker just goes up to him and just like fucking like one shots him.
Yeah.
But then picks up John and throws him. Like, all that whole fight scene was a little supernatural, a little like just really well done. Like, it was super satisfying when John killed him and he shattered into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, or like when John blocks the hit.
Yes, and it was like
White Walker's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it was
like, it just shows that they don't know everything, or they don't expect everything.
Yes. It was, and it wasn't even like the White Walker's sword. It was like the White Walker's pike or something. Like, it was cool because it, like, everything about that image was great. Like, everything about that, the feeling that you got was like that. I guess all the images were done well. Like, the image of the dead bodies rolling over in a giant mound over the mountain. Like,
yeah,
that was like, for example,
they throw themselves off, and then everybody like they throw themselves off the cliff, and everybody everybody at heart on all the wildlings are just, everybody's just watching like what the fuck is going on. Like they're killing themselves, and then slowly they just all rise up and they're like, oh shit. It's good. The whole thing was good.
Oh, and then the other thing that was really well done in that episode was that they built John up. Like, Tormund was like, yeah, he's a kid and he's young, but he's the leader that we need.
Yeah.
Like, that like.
Or when Tormund kills the, can't remember his name now, the guy with the bone armor.
Yes, Lord of Bones or something.
Yeah. It just like, he's like, no, he's gonna cause too much trouble, and I'm not dealing with it, and this will gain me the respect of all these other wildlings.
Yeah.
So he just
yeah, and it felt right. It felt real, and it was good. And that wasn't in the book, which kind of surprises me, but I bet you they put so much effort, or someone did. Maybe the showrunners did. Maybe someone like the writer or the director for that episode, like someone really put the effort in for that. And where, like, did they fire that guy? Find that guy, find that girl.
Bring him back.
Yeah, make him just... Maybe they're saving all their guns for last season or something.
Can only hope.
Oh,
holy
my
shit,
God.
No you didn't.
Yeah, not hole in one, but
I did. Hole in one.
No. What's the score? Damn, that was big. I didn't even make it to the other thing.
Was close.
I can't even get up there. I can tell you what I think what's going to happen with Littlefinger. Or my guess.
What do you think?
I think that Arya is going to take his face. She's going to become Littlefinger.
And rule the Vale.
Yeah, and support Sansa like unquestioningly and stop all that bullshit. That's what I think anyway. 'Cause I don't think that they built Sansa up over so many seasons just to have Littlefinger outplay her, you know. It's kind of like that old anime rule where like whoever wins can't be winning the whole time, you know. Like that's why Littlefinger saw her last episode, so it looks like he's winning, but not going to win. It's gonna be like she's gonna be like, haha, I knew that you had this power. I have a superior power. I think that's what it's gonna be. Who knows? They could kill her. I would actually be genuinely happy if they did kill Arya.
saying that for a while, I think.
Like, what happened with the dog, man? Like, what was that?
Yeah,
for?
that was fucking dumb.
What, like,
that was another thing that they talked about after the episode, and I was just thinking, like, you guys are so full of yourselves. And
that you can't even see how bad of a scene this is.
Yeah. Because they were like, they were so proud of themselves for having it say, like, or having her say, "That's not you," as a callback to when she told Ned, "That's not me." Like, no, and nobody even fucking got that because that was
It wasn't strong enough.
No.
Like, it wasn't even close to being strong enough. It was she might as well have said like, "Nymeria, like, touch my anus." Like, it had no emotional effect on me. What even happened? Like,
Not
I don't
only
even.
that, but
I
that's
blocked it out of my head.
when I first heard her say it. She said, "That's not you," and I thought, "That's not Nymeria? Like, why is she? Why are you?
Why are we wasting
Yeah,
time?
why are we wasting time on a different direwolf? Like,
It's so funny. It's not clever at all. Like, it's not clever or interesting or fun at all. Like, even without, like, now we know that it was some throwback to some random ass phrase that
from season 1.
that's a think about that too. Like, that they spent money on, you know, they haven't shown John's wolf in forever.
Yeah, no, they say that they can't have both very much of they chose not to show the dire wolves, like, basically at all anymore because it costs too much. That's what they said.
And they show it one time,
and it doesn't look right. And then they decide they're gonna go ahead and do it for that.
For that character, for that actress. I bet you too they were like jerking each other off too, like, yeah, this is gonna be good. Bring back Nymeria and everyone. Toad's cool.
Yeah, that's I think
just like
it's more just the fan service bullshit that doesn't progress the story in any meaningful way.
Right, like Arya had already come to terms with being an assassin. Like, she had already given up her name. She had already given up her Stark identity and then retaken it and gone through a whole internal struggle. Why did she need to have a separation moment with them? She already killed Walder Frey. She already achieved her kind of like goal of like I don't know, her stupid redemption. I mean, I kind of like that she killed Walder Frey, but I didn't even feel it with her either. Like, I was like, oh yeah, she's.
I liked her.
I don't know.
I liked it until the dumb fucking. It's another stupid meme fan service moment when she's with Hot Pie and says, "I've been baking pies myself lately."
Yes, that ruined it. That definitely ruined it. And they just like, yeah, that was, see, that's actually funny you bring it up, because that's exactly what you said. It's another fan service moment. Like, why would she see Hot Pie?
No, not
like,
just that, but that line, like, you know, because people,
I've been making my own pies.
It's the things, yeah, like, oh, Frey pie, like, they spend time and effort putting these stupid lines into the show that break immersion because they're the jokes of the internet. You know, Frey pie is a joke of the internet. Gendry rowing, joke of the internet. Like,
and they build a scene around it.
Yeah,
right?
Let those jokes stay on the internet.
And create and create your own scenes. Create your own problems. I think that's the main problem. They haven't created real problems. Like, they've just kept the current problems, you know? Like, even the Like the only real problem that they've created was Euron Greyjoy, but he's not exactly a problem. He's kind of like a passive problem, and it makes me feel like there's no goal.
What the fuck's going on with him now, anyways? Like, is something happening, or like, they just used him? Yeah, they just used him real quick for that.
It doesn't make any sense. He came in and he looked like a rock star.
Yeah, and then they act like he's gonna be this big part, but I don't see that happening.
I don't either. Not after this whole like go grab a dead body from the north in episode 6.
Yeah.
It'll unless they want him to be like a big player in season 7, but whatever last season. And what happened? Like they said, like, oh, there's gonna be like 3 big battles this season. Like the Casterly Rock battle was the trailer. Like when the Unsullied go into Casterly Rock, it was the trailer. Like all of it. It was all the trailer. And then it was Grey Worm taking off his helmet and saying like, "Oh no! Oh no! No! It's not good! It's no good! Miss Sunday, you scare me, Miss Sunday. I scared. You make me feel things, Miss Sunday. I feel things." I see Miss Sunday and I feel things. I look it.
Fuck that. It's like a rubber rock.
Oh shit. I was about to laugh at you for falling out, and then I fell. Corners. Just... If I don't hit this, I don't know. Oh, I got a witch hat.
Got an umbrella hat.
I really didn't mind Sunday and mini Obama sex scene, but that was pretty long.
Because she has really beautiful tits, that's why.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but even I was like, this is pretty long.
It was pretty long.
I thought he was gonna like whip out a dildo or something. I was like, yeah, he's prepared. I really did. Like, I really thought he was going to do it.
Just grab a strap on.
Yeah, like that's what I would have done. I don't know. I think. I don't know. I think it would have been like, oh, we you know, what the fuck? All right, I prepared, and I would like pulled out this leather belt, like already prepared. Been waiting for this day, bitch.
That would still be like possibly the most frustrating thing ever, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It really would be. What? Another thing too. It's really bad, but I thought to myself like this whole time as I'm watching it, I'm like, what if he pulls out a strap on and then gives it to her?
That's what I thought. The same thing.
And he was just like, wouldn't have that been good? Don't tell me that would have been good. Like
The way that the show's been going, it's believable.
it was just like, Missante, you must be man.
Be man for me.
Be man for me. Take me in your arms. I mean, like, and that I feel like that would be realistic though. Like, if you were a eunuch in that era, and like there would be, yeah, there would be no sexual gratification at all except like up your butthole, like there would be nothing else. Like there would be no.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do? Rub your nipples?
Yeah, that would like, Miss Sunday, touch me nipple. I hate that fucking accent that he has too. Like, I don't even know what it's. And I felt like their relationship was fan service too. Like,
yeah,
you know, like they just.
What good does that do for the story in any way at all? It's just Tumblr shipping stuff.
Yeah, it's just Tumblr-esque. I apparently got an albatross, which I didn't know was possible.
I think that's 2 under par. Well, fuck. Never gonna make it now.
That's really hard. That's hard.
Oh shit. Got it.
Oh, what? Like your new hat. I like how we both decked out our characters. Have you ever been, so you're like getting into South Korean culture, have you ever been interested in like, well, you just told me earlier you weren't, like Chinese or Japanese culture a little bit?
Yeah, Japanese is interesting. Chinese, I don't like the people enough.
Yeah, it's harder. I think the same thing. Like, it's harder for me to get into it because there's a lot of like, there's just as much Chinese heritage junk as there is.
Yeah, I mean they're a huge old geographical area, I guess. I mean, am I on the wrong course?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's a big nation, but they haven't always been a nation, so. Or empire, whatever. It's over
Yeah.
such a long time of people being there, it's changed so much.
Right. Oh shit. Oh no, you didn't.
Yep.
See the salt?
Yeah.
Bogey pools. Okay, that was wrong. I saw. Did you just have you played the Banner Saga games?
No, I
That was
bought
in
them.
your library.
Yeah, but I haven't played them.
Yeah, they're kind of a little frustrating because they're not. I don't know. I feel like they're not balanced at all, like the combat. But it's a really cool story. And I love it.
The art
I
looks
like
cool.
it. Yes, exactly. And it's like, ooh. Oh, what the hell?
Oh, what the fuck? That's 3 shots wasted. Really? Okay, just far enough.
What'd you get? Par or double bogey?
Triple bogey.
Fuck. Super rejected. What? Oh.
Whoa! What?
Double bogey.
That was
Though.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a good shot. It's like,
Fuck.
oh, you did it. Oh, okay, good. You're still being knocked around.
Yep.
It went. Oh, it brought you all the way back to the beginning.
Yep. God damn it. Yes, yes.
Oh.
Okay, that works.
Just barely missing you. Damn. Still me. Apparently I'm not good at this. What the fuck? You know what game I'm playing right now that I'm not really having fun with, that I thought I was gonna have fun with?
What?
Pillars of Eternity. Like everyone's like, oh man, one of the greatest top-down RPGs of all time, blah 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 blah. It's just like it's too much of a sandbox for like there's almost no direction for which way to go, which is okay, but like you get this. It would be okay if it was that, but they have enough of a main storyline to where
You should be able to follow it.
yeah, but you can't. Like it's kind of too much all at once, I would say, but then not enough. Like it's kind of. I need to figure out a way to describe it the best, but it's definitely not a game I'm used to. Like I'm not used to kind of sandbox RPGs that don't guide you kind of along the way, even like a little bit. But it's also like, or here's a really good example. I found the first dungeon of the game, which it was obviously like a dungeon with quests in it, and like, I had to find dead bodies, and you had to like discover the depths of this church, and it was like absolutely impossible for me to do it with the party members that they gave me in the beginning, which there were 2 that they gave me, and you can have a maximum of 6. So in order to get new party members, though, you have to spend a bunch of money and spend like 20 minutes going through a character creation screen to create a party member, to play with the party member. So like I had to sit there like an hour just to go through a dungeon and create like a raid, a customized raid group of like 6-7 people, and a healer and a tank and all these things. And like I knew that it was supposed to be fun, but I just wanted to get through this dungeon.
Is that intentional? Like that's part of the game?
That's it's so confusing. I don't know. Like I don't know if they wanted me to bypass the dungeon, I guess is the main thing. I ended up succeeding in conquering the dungeon for almost no money, though. Like, I spent probably 2,000 copper on hiring all these players to be in my team, and then at the end of the dungeon, I get 400 copper. And like no satisfaction.
Do you want to plan, or... I need to get up for a second, like stretch and stuff. I've been sitting down for a long time.
Yeah, I'm gonna get up too. I'll come back in like a minute.
Okay, yeah, I'll be back too.